Some people don't become emotionally detached because they stopped caring. They become detached because caring became too expensive. Think about the last time someone ignored your message. Or the moment you realized you were the only one making an effort in a relationship, a friendship, or even within your own family. At first, you felt hurt. Then frustrated. Then confused. But one day something changed. You stopped reacting. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped expecting anything. And everyone around you thought you had become cold. But what if that wasn't coldness? What if it was your mind trying to survive? The unsettling truth is that emotional detachment is rarely a personality trait. More often, it's a psychological adaptation. A silent defense mechanism that develops when your emotions have been ignored, rejected, or stretched beyond their limits. The strange part is that it doesn't always happen after one dramatic event. Sometimes it happens through hundreds of small disappointments. The text that never came. The apology that never arrived. The effort that was never returned. Little by little, your brain begins asking a dangerous question. Why keep investing emotions where they never feel safe? And once that question takes root, something inside you quietly changes. At first, emotional detachment feels like freedom. You stop chasing approval. You stop overthinking every conversation. Other people's opinions lose their grip on you. For the first time in a long time, you feel lighter. But this is where many people misunderstand what's happening. They think emotional detachment means becoming stronger. Not always. There's a huge difference between emotional control and emotional shutdown. One gives you freedom. The other slowly disconnects you from life itself. Psychologists often describe emotions as signals rather than problems. Fear warns you about danger. Sadness tells you something valuable was lost. Anger points toward violated boundaries. Joy reinforces meaningful experiences. Imagine driving a car and covering every warning light with tape. The lights disappear. The engine problems don't. Suppressing emotions works in a similar way. The discomfort becomes quieter. The underlying issue remains. That's why someone can appear calm while carrying years of unresolved pain beneath the surface. The silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's exhaustion. Here's something even more surprising. Many emotionally detached people are actually deeply emotional. They simply learned that showing emotions wasn't safe. Maybe they grew up in a household where crying was called weakness. Maybe every disagreement ended with criticism instead of understanding. Maybe they spent years loving people who only appreciated them when they sacrificed themselves. Eventually, vulnerability became associated with danger. So the brain adapted. Instead of saying, "I feel hurt," it learned to say nothing. Instead of trusting people, it expected disappointment. Instead of hoping, it stopped expecting. Not because it wanted to. Because it believed that was safer. This is one of the most powerful ideas in psychology. Your brain doesn't always choose what makes you happy. It often chooses what helped you survive before. That explains why people repeat unhealthy emotional patterns even when they desperately want different results. Your past becomes your prediction of the future. Until you consciously interrupt it. Have you ever noticed someone who says, "I don't need anyone"? Sometimes that's confidence. Sometimes it's armor. Real confidence says, "I can be alone without feeling incomplete." Emotional shutdown says, "If I never let anyone close, they can't hurt me." Those sound similar. But they come from completely different places. One comes from security. The other comes from fear. The challenge is that emotional detachment can become addictive. Not because it feels wonderful. Because it feels predictable. No expectations. No disappointments. No vulnerability. No risk. Your nervous system begins associating emotional distance with safety. The same way comfort zones become prisons without bars. Nothing terrible happens there. But nothing deeply meaningful happens there either. This is why some people spend years feeling emotionally numb without understanding why. Their lives become efficient, structured, disciplined, successful even. Yet something still feels missing. Because humans aren't designed to merely avoid pain. We're designed to experience connection, purpose, growth, and belonging. Removing pain by removing emotion often removes those things too. Think about someone standing in the middle of winter. Instead of finding warmth, they simply stop feeling the cold. It solves one problem. But it creates another. The same happens emotionally. The goal isn't to stop feeling. It's to become strong enough that feelings no longer control your actions. That difference changes everything. Emotionally intelligent people don't experience fewer emotions. They simply understand them better. When rejection happens, they ask, "What does this teach me?" When anxiety appears, they ask, "What is my mind trying to protect?" When anger rises, they ask, "Which boundary needs attention?" Curiosity replaces panic. Awareness replaces reaction. And over time, emotional resilience grows. There's another hidden reason many people become detached. Constant overstimulation. Every day we're exposed to endless opinions, notifications, news, arguments, comparison. Social media rewards emotional extremes because extreme emotions capture attention. Your brain wasn't built to process hundreds of emotional triggers every single day. Eventually, it begins conserving energy. Just as your body becomes exhausted after physical overload, your emotions become exhausted after constant psychological overload. The result isn't peace. It's emotional fatigue. You stop caring because your mind simply can't keep carrying everything. That's why periods of silence often feel surprisingly healing. Not because nothing is happening. Because your nervous system finally has room to recover. Now here's where the story changes. If emotional detachment developed over time, it can also be transformed over time. Not by forcing yourself to become emotional again, but by rebuilding trust. First, trust yourself. Keep promises to yourself. Say no when you mean no. Respect your own boundaries. Every small act of self-respect teaches your brain that your emotions matter. Second, separate discomfort from danger. Many emotionally detached people mistake vulnerability for weakness. But vulnerability isn't the absence of strength. It's choosing honesty despite uncertainty. There's courage in saying, "That hurt me." There's courage in admitting, "I care." The strongest people aren't emotionless. They're emotionally honest without becoming emotionally ruled. Third, pay attention to your emotional habits. Notice how quickly you distract yourself after uncomfortable feelings appear. Scrolling, working, gaming, constant busyness. These aren't always bad. But they can become escape routes. Instead of asking, "How do I stop feeling this?" ask, "What is this feeling trying to tell me?" That single question shifts your relationship with emotions completely. Fourth, choose connection over performance. Many people spend their lives trying to appear impressive. Very few spend enough time trying to be understood. Real relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on authenticity. People don't remember those who never showed emotion. They remember those who were genuinely present. Here's a difficult truth. If you've been emotionally detached for a long time, reconnecting may initially feel uncomfortable. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder whether you're becoming weak. You're not. You're becoming available to life again. Healing often feels unfamiliar because pain was familiar for so long. Don't confuse unfamiliarity with danger. There's also a deeper philosophical lesson hidden beneath all of this. Pain isn't the opposite of a meaningful life. Meaningless pain is. Every meaningful relationship carries the possibility of heartbreak. Every meaningful goal carries the possibility of failure. Every meaningful dream carries uncertainty. Trying to eliminate every emotional risk eventually eliminates many of life's greatest experiences. Courage has never meant living without fear. It means refusing to let fear make every important decision for you. Imagine two people walking through the same storm. One spends all their energy trying to avoid every raindrop. The other accepts they'll get wet but keeps moving towards something worth reaching. Both experience discomfort. Only one reaches the destination. Life works much the same way. You cannot protect your heart without also limiting its ability to connect. You cannot avoid disappointment without also avoiding hope. You cannot eliminate emotional risk without also reducing emotional depth. The real goal isn't emotional detachment. It's emotional mastery. To feel deeply without drowning. To care without begging. To love without losing yourself. To walk away without hatred. To stay kind without becoming naive. That is strength. And perhaps the greatest sign of emotional maturity isn't becoming harder. It's becoming wiser. Knowing when to open your heart. Knowing when to protect it. Knowing that your value was never determined by who stayed, who left, who understood you, or who didn't. Because the moment you stop abandoning yourself, you no longer need emotional walls as high as they once were. You don't become fearless. You become free. And freedom isn't the absence of emotion. It's finally being able to experience emotion without letting it control your identity. If this helped you see yourself differently, subscribe for more deep psychology and self-improvement lessons. Until next time, protect your peace, but never at the cost of losing your humanity.